Hey everyone, welcome back to Next Chapter Audio, where we talk about the books everyone's buzzing about, the stories that keep showing up on your feed, and whether they really deserve the hype. And today, Espic is especially fun because it's one of those rare situations where a book doesn't just trend once. It comes back around like a victory lap. We'll be talking about Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reid, the hockey romance that has basically become the gold standard on book. Even if you're not deep in romance spaces, there is a high chance you've heard people mention this title with the kind of intensity usually reserved for life-changing events. And the reason it's trending again right now, it has a brand new HBO Max TV adaptation, which means we've entered that glorious era of content where everyone is suddenly doing book versus show comparisons, ranking scenes, judging casting choices, and trying to decide whether the adaptation understood what made the romance work in the first place. And honestly, that's exactly why Heated Rivalry is back on top. Because this isn't just a romance that people casually enjoy, this is a romance people get emotionally attached to. It's one of those books that becomes a personality trait. It's the kind of story that readers don't just recommend, they evangelize. And once you read it, you immediately understand why. Heated Rivalry is a hockey romance, yes, but it is not just sports romance in the background of a love story. Hockey is part of the tension, part of the identity, part of the conflict. It's woven into the relationship in a way that makes everything feel sharper. The story centers on two rival hockey players who are basically the definition of enemies on the ice. Their teams are rivals. Their careers put them in constant competition, and from the outside, they represent everything the other is supposed to hate. But privately, they have a connection that keeps pulling them back together, and that's the heart of the story. The contrast between public rivalry and private intimacy. That push and pull is addictive, because the tension isn't just emotional. It's built into their lives, built into their careers, built into the expectations around them. And Rachel Reid understands something crucial about romance. Chemistry is important, but conflict is what makes it burn. This book burns. It's not a slow will. Won't they, with gentle misunderstandings. It is the kind of story where you know they want each other from the beginning. The question is how they survive wanting each other when everything around them makes that impossible. And that makes it incredibly big. Now, one of the reasons Heated Rivalry became such a gold standard on BookTube, because it is the kind of romance that does multiple tropes extremely well without feeling like it's checking off boxers. You get rivalry. You get secret relationship energy. You get that intense Weishan tension. You get years of emotional buildup. You get the push of ambition and pride mixed with the pull of attraction and vulnerability. And the best part is that the relationship develops over time. It doesn't feel like a quick, convenient romance where two people meet and suddenly everything is destiny. It feels earned. It feels messy. It feels like something that shouldn't work, but keeps working anyway. And when romance feels like that, when it feels like the characters are fighting themselves as much as they re-fighting each other, it becomes impossible to look away. Another big reason this book stands out in the hockey romance space is that the characters aren't written as simple archetypes. They're intense, competitive, stubborn, and emotionally complicated in ways that actually make sense for who they are. They're athletes. Their world is built on discipline, ego, performance, pressure, and public image. They've been trained to win, to dominate, to never show weakness. So the idea of vulnerability, real vulnerability, doesn't come easily, which makes the romantic moments hit harder. Because when a character who lives inside pride finally cracks open emotionally, it feels huge. And Heated Rivalry is full of those moments, not in a melodramatic way, but in that quiet way where one line suddenly reveals something real. Where a gesture means more than the words, where a character who never admits anything has to admit at least one truth. Those are the scenes that romance readers replay in their heads. Those are the scenes that become, quote, posts and TikToks and screaming comment sections. And that brings us to why it's trending again, the adaptation. Whenever a romance gets adapted, especially a romance with a fandom behind it, the internet basically becomes a courtroom. Everyone suddenly turns into a judge. People ask, did they cast it right? Did they keep the best scenes? Did they soften the tension? Did they change the characters? Did they make it to mainstream? Did they erase what made the relationship feel intense? And the book versus show format is so popular right now because it lets viewers do something we all secretly love doing, comparing the version in our heads to the version on screen. And Heated Rivalry is the perfect book for that kind of comparison because readers are attached to the emotional tone, not just the plot. This isn't a story where you only care about what happens. It's a story where you care about how it feels. So if the show captures the feeling, fans will forgive changes. If the show misses the feeling, fans will And what makes it even more interesting is that romance adaptations live or die on chemistry. In thrillers, you can get away with flashy pacing. In fantasy, you can get away with visuals. But in romance, if the actors don't convince you, nothing else matters. So the adaptation has sparked a lot of debate, because everyone is watching closely to see whether the show version can match the intensity that made the book iconic. Now, speaking purely about the book itself, Heated Rivalry works so well because Rachel Reid writes intimacy in a way that feels emotional, not just physical. Yes, it's steamy. Yes, it's intense. But the heat isn't what makes it memorable. It's what the heat covers up. It's the emotional stakes behind the physical closeness, the sense that every moment between them is also a risk to their careers, a risk to their identities, a risk to their pride, a risk to their hearts. Honestly, that's the magic of this romance. It's not safe, it's not easy, it's private, it's secret, it's loaded. And readers love romances that feel loaded because they feel more real, more urgent. And the writing itself has this smooth, addictive quality. It's easy to read quickly. It doesn't get bogged down in unnecessary description. It keeps your focus on the relationship, the tension, the development over time. That is why people call it the gold standard, because it delivers exactly what the hockey romance genre promises, but at the highest emotional level. It's not just two hot athletes fall for each other. It's two competitors, two rivals, two men who are supposed to hate each other publicly, falling into something private that changes them. That's romance. Now, I do want to mention something important. Heated Rivalry isn't for readers who only enjoy light, fluffy romance. It's not a soft story. It's emotionally intense. It's full of ego, pride, conflict, and emotional distance. If you prefer romances where communication is perfect and everyone is emotionally available from page 1, you might find this frustrating at first. But if you love slow, emotional payoff, tension that builds, and characters who have to fight for every bit of vulnerability, you're going to love it. Also, because this book has such a massive reputation now, some new readers pick it up expecting it to magically work for them regardless of taste. And that's not always how it goes. Sometimes a book is beloved because it hits a specific niche perfectly, and hockey romance with rivals to lovers intensity is definitely a specific niche. But if that niche is yours, this is the kind of book you finish, and then immediately understand why everyone has been yelling about it for years. And the adaptation just poured gasoline on that fire. Because once a fandom gets a show, the story stops being only a book. It becomes a shared cultural moment again. People reread, people react, people compare, people make edits, people make rankings, people debate which version is better. And the book versus show trend thrives on exactly that kind of energy. So, here's my final verdict. Heated Rivalry is trending again because it's a modern romance classic in its niche, and the HBO Max adaptation has pulled it back into the spotlight in the biggest way possible. The book is intense, addictive, and emotionally satisfying in the way only a true rivalry romance can be. It's a love story that feels dangerous, private, and unforgettable. And that's why it became the gold standard for hockey romance on book. If you love rivals to lovers, if you love sports romance, if you love tension that burns for years, if you love emotionally complicated characters who slowly learn how to choose each other, then yes, this one is absolutely worth the hype. And if you're watching the show too, you're in for the ultimate fun reading experience, comparing what you imagined to what you're seeing. Because half the joy of an adaptation is yelling, "That's not how it happened," and then immediately watching the next episode anyway. And that's it for today's episode on Next Chapter Audio. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, are you team the book is always better, or do you love when a show adaptation brings a story to life in a new way? And if you've read Heated Rivalry, I have to know, what scene were you most nervous for the show to adapt? Until next time, happy reading, and I'll see you in the next chapter.